Welcome to Year in Review, the show where we break down a year to bring you some of the most notable moments in TV and film month by month. Today we're heading back a couple of decades to the year 2001. It was the year that marked the launch of iTunes and Wikipedia, and it was a pretty great year for TV and movies too, which thankfully were there to become a very welcome distraction after our lives changed forever. Shows like Survivor, The West Wing, and Sex and the City were all the rage around the water cooler. And we were introduced to eventual film franchises revolving around a green animated ogre, a young wizard named Harry, a Lord of the Rings, and a group of people who like to do things fast and furious. So gather around, because it's time for your 2001 Year in Review.
Pronto?
I've gone above you. I've spoken to your section chief. Someday you'll thank me, or you won't. I don't care. You'll be alive. Inspector Potsy?
Is this Clarice? Well, hello, Clarice.
February of 2001 served up the film Hannibal, the highly anticipated sequel to 1991's monster hit Silence of the Lambs. This time, Julianne Moore steps into the role of Clarice Starling, who 7 years after the events of the first film is still attempting to apprehend cannibalistic serial killer Hannibal Lecter, played once again by Anthony Hopkins. Hannibal was directed by Ridley Scott and based on the 1999 novel by Thomas Harris, who also wrote the first book and spent several years writing this after the success of the first film.
You look well.
I'll cut you loose. If you touch me, I'll shoot you.
Understood.
Do right, and you'll live through this.
Spoken like a true Protestant. Better hurry. This might go faster if you hand me the knife.
Despite mixed reviews, the film did very well at the box office to the tune of over $351 million, but it was ultimately deemed inferior to its predecessor. Critics say, while superbly acted and stylishly filmed, Hannibal lacks the character interaction between the two leads, which made the first film so engrossing.
Because it opens up into what? Yes, and doesn't! It opens up into a spear!
Opening in May was The Mummy Returns, a sequel to the 1999 film The Mummy. This one picks up 10 years after the events of the first film, with Brendan Fraser's Rick O'Connell settled in 1935 London, married to Evelyn, played by Rachel Weisz, and raising their son. But they soon find themselves in a race to save the world from unspeakable evil and rescue their son before it's too late. The Mummy Returns marks the big screen acting debut for Dwayne Johnson, whose only spoken lines in the film are in ancient Egyptian. But he would get his turn with the 2002 prequel The Scorpion King, set 5,000 years prior and with Johnson in the starring role. The film's $70 million opening weekend total made it the second highest opening ever at the time, behind the Lost World Jurassic Park, on its way to grossing over $435 million worldwide. Critics say, in The Mummy Returns, the special effects are impressive, but the characters seem secondary to the computer-generated imagery.
Evening. Mirror, mirror on the wall, is this not the most perfect kingdom of them all?
Well, technically, you're not a king.
Thelonious. You were saying?
What I mean is, you're not a king yet.
Also coming in May was the animated film Shrek, starring Mike Myers in the titular role and loosely based on William Steig's 1990 picture book of the same name. In the film, Shrek's peaceful life of solitude is disrupted by an invasion of banished fairy tale characters. In order to get his life back, Shrek sets out to find and rescue Princess Fiona, voiced by Cameron Diaz, who has an ogre-related secret of her own. Nicolas Cage was offered the role of Shrek, but turned it down, in part because he didn't want to look like an ogre. So Chris Farley was cast and recorded much of the dialogue, but he died in 1997 before his work was completed, so Mike Myers took over the role and eventually changed the accent.
Example? Okay, ogres are like onions.
They stink?
Yes. No.
Oh, they make you cry?
No.
Oh, you leave them out in the sun, they get all brown, start sprouting little white hairs.
No. Layers.
Shrek was chosen to compete for the Palme d'Or at the 2001 Cannes Film Festival, becoming the first animated film to do so since 1953's Peter Pan, before picking up an Oscar for Best Animated Feature. Critics say, while simultaneously embracing and subverting fairy tales, the irreverent Shrek also manages to tweak Disney's nose, provide a moral message to children, and offer viewers a funny, fast-paced ride.
The show will be a magnificent, opulent, tremendous, stupendous, gargantuan bedazzlement, a sensual ravishment. It will be...
Singing and dancing its way into theaters in May was Baz Luhrmann's film Moulin Rouge. This one takes place in a gaudy and glamorous nightclub at the cusp of the 20th century, where a young poet played by Ewan McGregor starts a passionate affair with the club's most notorious and beautiful star, played by Nicole Kidman. Moulin Rouge could have looked a bit different considering Leonardo DiCaprio, Heath Ledger, and Jake Gyllenhaal reportedly all auditioned for the role of Christian before Ewan McGregor was cast.
Thank you for curing me of my ridiculous obsession with love.
And speaking of big stars, it was a bit of a rough shoot for Nicole Kidman, who broke her ribs twice. Once when she was lifted into the air during a number, and again when a corset was pulled too tight. Hopefully the Best Actress Oscar nomination she got, one of 8 noms for the movie, made her feel a little bit better. Critics say, a love it or hate it experience, Moulin Rouge is all style, all giddy, over-the-top spectacle. But it's also daring in its vision and wildly original. Speeding into a June release in 2001 was The Fast and the Furious, directed by Rob Cohen, who would go on to direct Triple X the following year. Paul Walker plays LAPD officer Brian O'Connor, who goes undercover in the world of street racing and is taken under the wing of Vin Diesel's Dominic Toretto. And Brian ultimately has to decide where his loyalties lie.
What are you smiling about? Dude, I almost had you. You almost had me? You never had me. You never had your car.
The film would go on to launch a franchise that includes at least 10 films, along with tie-in products like video games, amusement park attractions, toys, and clothing. But The Fast and the Furious could have been something else altogether, considering its original title was Redline, and Eminem was reportedly offered the role of Brian O'Connor, but he turned it down to work on 8 Mile. So Paul Walker got the part on the strength of his performance in The Skulls the year before, and he would reprise his role in a bunch of those sequels up until and even after his death in 2013. Critics say, sleek and shiny on the surface, The Fast and the Furious recalls those cheesy teenage exploitation flicks of the 1950s.
Hi, I'm Elle Woods, and this is Bruiser Woods, and we're both Gemini vegetarians. I have a bachelor's degree in fashion merchandising from CULA, and I was a Zeta Lambda Nu sweetheart, president of my sorority Delta Nu, and last year I was homecoming queen.
Hitting theaters in July of 2001 on its way to becoming a sleeper hit was Legally Blonde, based on Amanda Brown's 2001 novel of the same name. Reese Witherspoon stars as fashion student and sorority girl Elle Woods, who is on the fast track to a perfect life until her boyfriend breaks up with her before he heads off to Harvard Law School. Elle wills her way into the same school in an effort to win him back, but things don't go quite as planned. Witherspoon may have missed out on winning an MTV Movie Award for her role, no thanks to Nicole Kidman in Moulin Rouge, but she did have it in her contract that she got to keep all of her outfits from filming, which is amazing.
Elle. Pooh Bear.
Yes.
I think we should break up.
What?
Legally Blonde became a pretty big hit, making over $140 million on an $18 million budget. And I'm no math whiz, but that usually means sequels in Hollywood, which is exactly what we got in 2003 with Legally Blonde 2, Red, White, and Blonde, and a third film that's currently in the works. Critics say, though the material is predictable and formulaic, Reese Witherspoon's funny, nuanced performance makes the movie better than it would have been otherwise.
I think we lost him.
It's okay, it's dead. Nobody move a muscle.
Roaring into theaters on July 18, 2001 was Jurassic Park 3, the final film in the original trilogy. This installment follows a divorced couple played by Téa Leoni and William H. Macy who tricked Dr. Alan Grant, with Sam Neill reprising the role, into helping them find their son who went missing on Isla Sorna, the same island from the second Jurassic Park movie. This is the first film in the franchise to not be directed by Steven Spielberg, although he stayed on as executive producer, and it's also the first to not be fully based on a Michael Crichton novel. Also, unlike the previous two films, Jurassic Park 3 features a Spinosaurus as the main dinosaur antagonist, replacing the good old T-Rex. Bro, they killed the T-Rex. Despite all those changes and mixed reviews from critics, the movie still pulled in nearly $370 million worldwide, an impressive haul that was the lowest in the franchise, but good enough to make it into the top 10 that year. Critics say Jurassic Park 3 is darker and faster than its predecessors, but that doesn't quite compensate for the franchise's continuous creative decline.
Lee, why didn't you tell me this man rolls like this?
I told you already.
No, you didn't.
I did.
What you say?
I did this.
What do this mean, man? Speak English to me.
That means I go this way and you go this way.
I go that way, you go this way?
Yes.
Okay.
Another sequel to hit theaters in the summer of 2001 as the calendar turned to August was Rush Hour 2. With director Brett Ratner returning from 1998's Rush Hour, along with stars Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker, the sequel follows the duo to Hong Kong on vacation, where they end up getting pulled into a murder investigation involving two US customs agents.
You don't know nothing about this, do you? Egyptian style, girl. You want some of this? Come on. Bring it on! What's wrong with you, woman?
Rush Hour 2's box office haul of $347 million is the highest total in the franchise and made it the second highest grossing PG-13 film of the year. And not only did the film figuratively print money at the box office, it also actually printed $1 trillion in fake money to be used as props in the film. Unfortunately, some extras pocketed some of it and tried to spend it, which did not go well. Critics say Rush Hour 2 doesn't feel as fresh or funny as the first, and the stunts lack some of the intricacies normally seen in Chan's films.
Man, listen, I became a cop to stop people from using...
Yeah, blah, 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 blah. It's not a review board, it ain't cocaine. Take it here.
No, man.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, right. If I was a dealer, you'd be dead by now, mother. You turn down on the street, and the chief brings your wife a crisply folded flag. What the is wrong with you?
Patrolling into theaters in October of 2001 was the police drama Training Day, directed by Antoine Fuqua and written by David Ayer. The film follows a day in the life of a veteran LAPD officer, played by Denzel Washington, as he trains Ethan Hawke's rookie cop character on his first day in the volatile narcotics unit. In an effort to look as authentic as possible, filming took place in some of the most infamous neighborhoods of Los Angeles, marking the first time LA street gangs allowed filming, while Denzel Washington, Ethan Hawke, and the other cast members met with undercover police officers, local drug dealers, and gang members to prepare for their roles.
I'm the man up in this piece. You'll never see the light of day. Who the f you think you f***ing with? I'm the police. I run shit here. You just live here. Yeah, that's right. You better walk away. Go on, walk away, because I'm going to burn this motherfucker down. King Kong ain't got shit on me.
Washington earned an Academy Award for Best Actor for his performance in the film, while Hawke was nominated for Best Supporting Actor. Plus, Training Day won 2 MTV Movie Awards for Best Villain for Denzel and Best Cameo for Snoop Dogg. Critics say the ending may be less than satisfying, but Denzel Washington reminds us why he's such a great actor in this taut and brutal police drama.
You might be strong, but you're not bulletproof.
Premiering on TV in October of 2001 was the action-adventure series Smallville, which began on the WB and went along for the ride when the network merged with UPN to form the CW. The show was a fresh take on the Superman story that centered on a younger Clark Kent dealing with his emerging superpowers, budding romances, and early rivalries. It wasn't until a drama series chronicling a young Bruce Wayne was pitched and ultimately denied that the idea for a Superman origin story started getting kicked around. It turned out to be the right choice, running for 10 successful seasons and earning accolades ranging from Emmys to Teen Choice Awards. And perhaps most importantly, it got the blessing of former Superman film star Christopher Reeve, who even made a couple guest appearances on the show. Critics say Smallville's modern retelling of the Superman saga benefits from a focus on teen angst and small-town drama instead of comic book camp.
I don't believe I ordered a wake-up call, Mikey.
Hey, let's talk. More pain, Marshmallow Boy. Feel the burn. You call yourself a monster? Scary feet, scary feet, scary feet. Oh, the kid's awake. Okay, scary feet, scary feet, scary feet, scary feet, scary. Kids asleep. Twins in a bunk bed.
Scaring its way into theaters in November was the Pixar film Monsters, Inc., featuring the voices of John Goodman, Billy Crystal, Steve Buscemi, and Jennifer Tilly, among others. Set in a world of monsters powered by the screams of children, the story centers on 2 employees at a large scare factory whose lives are turned upside down when a little human girl, thought to be toxic to monsters, finds her way into their city.
Michael, if you don't tell me what's going on right now, we are through. Do you hear me? Through!
Okay, here's the truth. You know the kid that they're looking for? Sully let her in. We tried to send her back, but Waternoose had the secret plot, and now Randall's right behind us, and he's trying to kill us.
You expect me to believe that pack of lies, Mike Wazowski? Mike Wazowski! Ah!
I love you, Schmoopsy Poo.
The film marked the directorial debut for Pete Docter, who would go on to direct other Pixar films like Up, Inside Out, and Soul. And another Pixar regular, Randy Newman, returned to compose the score for Monsters, Inc. after doing the company's 3 previous films as well. He ended up taking home an Academy Award for Best Original Song for If I Didn't Have You, but the film lost out on Best Animated Feature to the aforementioned Shrek. Critics say, clever, funny, and delightful to look at, Monsters, Inc. delivers another resounding example of how Pixar elevated the bar for modern all-ages animation.
Looks like he's gonna be sick.
He's got the snitch!
Bringing some wizardry to theaters in November was Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, based on J.K. Rowling's hugely popular 1997 novel of the same name, and marking the first installment of the Harry Potter film franchise. It stars Daniel Radcliffe as Harry Potter and follows his first year at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry as he discovers that he is a famous wizard and begins his formal wizarding education. Radcliffe was joined by others including Rupert Grint and Emma Watson, along with the late Alan Rickman as Snape, the latter of whom was handpicked by J.K. Rowling and given secrets about the story that nobody else would know until the final novel.
Where, Mr. Potter, would you look if I asked you to find me a bezoar?
I don't know, sir.
And what is the difference between monkshood and wolfbane?
I don't know, sir.
Pity. Clearly, fame isn't everything.
Like the book it was based on, The Sorcerer's Stone was a massive hit, earning nearly $1 billion during its initial run, good enough to be the highest grossing film of the year and second highest grossing film ever at the time. It also racked up 3 Academy Award nominations and was followed by 7 sequels. Critics say Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone adapts its source material faithfully, while condensing the novel's overstuffed narrative into an involving, and often downright exciting, big-screen magical caper.
Still don't know if we can use her yet. Actually, I haven't even caught her name.
Tess.
Huh? Her name is Tess.
Sneaking into theaters in December of 2001 was the heist thriller Ocean's 11, directed by Steven Soderbergh. This is a remake of the 1960 Rat Pack film of the same name and stars George Clooney as Danny Ocean, who recruits a crew of 10 to help him rob 3 casinos at the same time. Joining Clooney was a rather high-profile ensemble cast, meaning that everyone worked for less than their regular salaries to help bring down the budget. And once the cast was in place, they went to the Bellagio in Las Vegas, which gave the production access to their security system to acquire real surveillance footage of the casino.
4th task, construction. We need to build an exact working replica of the Bellagio vault.
For practice.
Something like that. 5th task, intelligence.
We need those codes, Linus, from the only guy who has all 3.
But Benedict?
Learn to love his shadow.
Wait. All I get to do is watch the guy?
You gotta walk before you can crawl.
First that.
The movie pulled in a worldwide total of $450 million and was the 5th highest grossing film of 2001. But the whole Ocean's crew somehow lost out on the MTV Movie Award for Best On-Screen Team, which went to Vin Diesel and Paul Walker for The Fast and the Furious. Critics say, as fast-paced, witty, and entertaining as it is star-studded and coolly stylish, Ocean's 11 offers a well-seasoned serving of popcorn entertainment.
Go back to the shadow. You shall not pass!
And finally, delivering a little jewelry in the month of December was The Lord of the Rings: The Fellowship of the Ring, based on J.R.R. Tolkien's 1954 novel, The Fellowship of the Ring. The film follows a young hobbit named Frodo, played by Elijah Wood, who sets out on a mission with a band of unlikely allies to destroy a powerful ring in an effort to save the future of their civilization. This is the first installment in the Lord of the Rings film trilogy, and was followed by The Two Towers and The Return of the King over the following 2 years. The film grossed $880 million worldwide in its initial release, becoming the 2nd highest grossing film of the year and the 5th highest grossing film ever at the time. It was nominated for 13 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, and won 4 for Best Cinematography, Best Makeup, Best Original Score, and Best Visual Effects. But really, it forever instilled the word Hobbit into the pop culture vernacular, and that's just fine by me. Critics say, full of eye-popping special effects and featuring a pitch-perfect cast, The Lord of the Rings: The Fellowship of the Ring brings J.R.R. Tolkien's classic to vivid life. Well gosh, we did it! 2001 from top to bottom. Man, Harry Potter and The Lord of the Rings kicking off in the same year? That's big-time nerd stuff right there. What's your favorite movie or show from 2001? Thanks for checking out our year in review for 2001. We'll see you next time.